what do you mean by chemical reaction? In a chemical reaction, what will happen? Always new substances are going to form, or you can say when two or more reactants are reacting, they will be forming new product. These products will have totally different property with respect to their reactants. Other than this, what more properties you need to remember about chemical reaction is, here older bonds are being broken and new bonds are formed among those same elements or same atoms of different elements present in the reactants. Now, one more thing what you have to understand here is, this processes or chemical reaction is mostly irreversible, while physical changes or physical processes which are there, it is reversible. Okay, so first we will be doing different types of chemical reaction, and in that we will start with synthesis reaction. Okay, so first chemical reaction what we are going to see here is combination reaction. It is also called as synthesis reaction. In this chemical reaction, one or more reactants combine together to form only and only one product. Here you can see, when carbon is burning in presence of air or oxygen, it combines with that to form only and only one product. Okay, you can see here only one compound is being formed. Otherwise, if you see, there are how many reactants? Two reactants. So two or more reactants, when they react chemically and form only and only one compound, this type of reaction is called combination reaction or synthesis reaction. Okay, so this is the combination type of reaction. You can take many more examples, but take the simple one. We can take one more. If magnesium ribbon is burning in presence of oxygen, it is forming magnesium oxide. If you want to balance, here 2 times oxygen, so you will be putting 2 here. We can't put 2 here because it will change the chemical formula. Okay, so now magnesium has become 2. You can write 2 here, so it is balanced now. Okay, so these are 2 examples of combination or synthesis type of chemical reaction. In decomposition reaction, what you have to remember is, here one reactant, for example, here I have taken calcium carbonate. Okay, so here one reactant is being broken down into 2 or more products. For example, here if calcium carbonate is heated, okay, if calcium carbonate is heated, it is forming calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide. So you can see here one reactant is forming how many? It is forming 2 compounds. One compound with the help of heat is being broken down and it is forming 2 compounds, or you can say 2 products. So such type of chemical reaction is called decomposition type of chemical reaction. Based on the energy what you have taken, for example, here you have taken heat. Okay, so heat is also called as thermal. Okay, it is also called thermal energy. So this type of decomposition is also called thermal decomposition. So here we use heat, so it is thermal decomposition. If you use electricity or electric current is being passed, then that type of decomposition is called electrolysis. That we will see in detail in later case. Same way, if you use light, that is called photolysis. We can take this example, silver bromide AgBr, when it is exposed to sunlight or light, this will be giving you silver plus bromine. Since it's a non-metal, It is not existing in monoatomic form. So it will be forming bromine molecule. To balance that, let's put 2 AgBr, 2 Ag. Okay, so these are also decomposition reaction. Okay, but here, since here you are using heat, so it is thermal decomposition, and here you are using light, so it is said to be photolysis. Okay, this is photolysis. Next type of chemical reaction is displacement reaction. You need to understand here displacement reaction. For that, you need to remember reactivity series of metal. Okay, so next type of chemical reaction we are taking here is replacement type of chemical reaction, which is also called as displacement type of reaction. So you can write. Now in this reaction, what happens? The element which is more reactive is displacing or replacing the less reactive element. That is why we call it as displacement reaction or replacement reaction. For example, you have copper sulfate. Okay, here copper sulfate, when it is treated with iron, Fe, it is going to form FeSO4. Fe being more reactive. Okay, in this reaction, what we can understand here, iron is more reactive. So this is going to displace or replace which one? Copper, because in reactivity series you know that copper is coming lower to the iron. So iron being more reactive will replace copper from copper sulfate, and it will be forming iron sulfate. Okay, and copper is here. So if you treat iron with copper sulfate, iron being more reactive, it is going to replace this copper, and here this iron is going to fit into it, and it will form copper separately, and iron sulfate will be present here. Okay, understood? Again I repeat, when copper sulfate is treated with iron, iron being more reactive will replace or displace the less reactive copper and forms iron sulfate, and copper is deposited. Okay, if you want to know about its color, so copper sulfate in the form of solution, it is blue in color, and when it forms iron sulfate, it is getting converted into green in color, and this copper will be deposited on the, if you are placing nail of iron, it will be deposited on that. Okay, so children, now we will see double displacement. Here in double displacement type of chemical reaction, we will be taking example of sodium hydroxide NaOH plus HCl, hydrochloric acid. Okay, what happens in this? Here two ions are getting exchanged, this sodium as well as this hydrogen, they are getting exchanged. Okay, or you can say OH will be coming in place of chloride ion, and chloride ion will be coming in place of OH ion. Okay, so here two ions are getting exchanged, you can say. Such type of chemical reaction is called double displacement. What will be the product? You can see here, this OH and H is going to form water molecule. You can write HOH, but it is water molecule. And here this is the NaCl. This is NaCl. So what has happened? Chloride ion has come in place of OH. Okay, and here what has happened? This sodium ion has come in place of hydrogen. So two ions are getting exchanged. So such type of chemical reaction is called double displacement. One more thing I will add here. The example what I have taken, sodium hydroxide is a base, hydrochloric acid is acid. So here they both are nullifying their effect, they are neutralizing their effect. So such type of chemical reaction is also called as neutralization reaction. But remember, that is only and only when acid is treated with base. Okay. Otherwise, for double displacement, you can take some other example also. We can take here sodium sulfate, barium chloride. This is going to form barium sulfate and sodium chloride. So here also two ions are getting exchanged, but in this case we cannot say that is neutralization reaction because here we haven't taken acid or base. Okay. In the beginning I took example of carbon burning in presence of oxygen to form carbon dioxide. So such type of reaction is also called combustion type of chemical reaction. Okay. You can add one more thing here. Okay. Now at the end, endothermic and exothermic chemical reaction, that is quite more informative. We will be doing it in next class, but we will just end it with this. Endothermic reaction is a type of chemical reaction wherein energy is absorbed, while exothermic is a type of chemical reaction wherein energy is released. So out of this all, you can understand in which case energy is being released. So carbon is burning, it is releasing energy. So it is exothermic reaction. And out of this, which one is absorbing energy? You can see here, heat is being getting absorbed. So it is endothermic reaction. Okay. You can take example of photosynthesis as well for endothermic, and for exothermic, you can take example of respiration. Why I added this? Because these two are natural processes or natural chemical reaction, which is exothermic and endothermic. Okay. Thank you.